record.
I'm recording.
Recording this. Look, listen. Spider-Man No Way Home, good movie. Better visuals, Suicide Squad or that? It's not even remotely close. It's the Suicide Squad. Has 10 times better visuals than that one. You see how good Starro looked? And they brought back a giant dinosaur to play the lizard?
Well, you guys have to understand that this is a continuation of the rant from last week.
And somehow the rant before we hopped on here, we're mixing all... The Oscar noms are out. Oh, did the episode start? Are we started? I love this opening. This is a great opening.
This is the best opening.
This is the best opening because it's no context.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Project Infinite podcast. The podcast talking about what's the
Oscars.
You screwed me up with this.
It's Oscar nomination time, and now it's the time I get the ISO play.
We cover the ever expanding and infinite multiverse of fandom, movies, comics, TV shows, video games.
The Snyder Cut.
The Snyder Cut. Man, what is going on today? My name is Rob. I'm here as always with Courtney. And Courtney, how do you top what you just pulled off there in the opening?
I don't know. I didn't know you were recording, so I was on my Oscar rant and on my Spider-Man No Way Home. Listen, a good movie. It just doesn't look as good as the Suicide Squad. I'm looking at you, Oscars, which Rob's going to let me take an hour to talk about this week.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the Oscars in a few minutes. The bulk of this podcast will be spent finishing the Zack Snyder trilogy of DC films. We covered Man of Steel, pretty good one. We covered
yes, you said it.
Pretty good.
Yes,
pretty good.
See,
we covered Batman vs Superman last week. Not as good.
Not as good.
Not as good.
Definitely not as good.
Definitely had our issues with that one. And this week we are covering the magnum opus of the Zack Snyder trilogy, his Odyssey, Justice League, the Snyder Cut, not Justice League 2017.
This film was shot on a 4:3 aspect ratio to preserve Zack Snyder's vision.
Much like this podcast is recorded at a 4:3 aspect ratio to maintain the vision of us. But first, the news. So Sony is feeling themselves after Spider-Man No Way Home, so they're like, guess what, guys? We're doing a Madam Web movie. And Dakota Johnson is the titular Madam Web. Why?
She was in The Lost Daughter, I guess.
I mean, nothing against her.
Oh, she's really evolved as an actress over the last couple of years.
Yeah. But why is this movie happening?
Because I have a feeling they're going to try to do we already kind of got a Snyderverse. Listen to me. We already kind of got a Spider-Verse in No Way Home, so I don't know if you do another Spider-Verse, a true live-action Spider-Verse, and that's why she's doing it. That's the only thing I can think of, is that's why they're really trying to get at this. Or
they're just still trying to do this thing where they're making movies about Spider-Man characters and not Spider-Man. I don't know. Morbius is coming out in a couple months. We've had 2 Venom films, and that's been it for this. Oh, and Kraven the Hunter is coming also.
Is it still?
Yeah, I would think so.
Aaron Taylor Johnson, I guess. Is
Aaron Taylor Johnson's Kraven.
If you can't outrun a bullet, I guess you gotta outrun a spear.
Yeah, so, I don't know. There was rumors for a long time that they were doing a Silk movie also.
Right. I heard rumors anywhere from whoever the girl was from Spider-Man Homecoming that she was gonna play Silk. I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean...
Guys, let's just start with the Amazing Spider-Man 3 and just relax.
Just do that one.
Just do
that's
that
the
one.
layup.
That's an easy one.
Yeah, that's the layup, right? I don't know why they're developing... Unless they're developing all these things with the intentions of making Amazing Spider-Man 3 like the biggest solo Spider-Man movie
Which
ever.
that's the reason why the Amazing Spider-Man 2 wasn't good, so I need them to... take a chill pill and relax.
And presumably, if they did do an Amazing Spider-Man 3, that would be a Sony-only project, right?
I'm assuming so, yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. We need to...
I don't know, man. I don't know. I know they did Into the Spider-Verse. I know. But, look, a dead clock's right twice a day. Mm-hmm. And they nailed it with Into the Spider-Verse. That's maybe the best Spider-Man movie of all time that we're talking about. You know what I mean?
You never saw Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire.
I did. We did it for this podcast. More casting news. This happened, a couple weeks ago, but I don't think we talked about it. Jason Momoa is going to be in the Fast and Furious.
Oh, man, I love those movies.
You thought we were off the Fast and Furious corner. Nope. Yep. Nope.
Just when you think we're gone, we're right back.
I mean, sure. Why not?
Just like Han.
Yeah. You might as well get Jason Momoa.
I know,
he was built for this movie.
Yeah, he's eccentric as you can be. He's,
Cool.
charismatic as you can be. It's the perfect casting. You have John Cena because The Rock's done. I'm assuming he's never going to touch one of those movies ever again as long as Vin Diesel's there.
Him and Vin Diesel are irreconcilable at this point.
Or they're doing this to make the Avengers Endgame of Fast and Furious movies.
That's got to be the Endgame, I think. The Fast and Furious Endgame. I don't know what that's going to entail, but I wouldn't be telling any tales if I wasn't intrigued.
Whatever line that Leo said in Django, he said, "You had my curiosity, but now you have my attention."
You got my attention anytime you put Jason Momoa in a thing, because it's weird calling somebody like the new age Dwayne Johnson, because Dwayne Johnson's still like at the peak of his powers,
right, yeah.
But like Jason Momoa gives off like the same kind of energy. Like he puts his all into literally every role he does.
Dune's a perfect example of that.
He's great in Dune, and it's I think we talked about it when we reviewed Dune.
That's his best role that he's ever done.
Because it's like a more tame version of what you usually get from that guy. Like it kind of shows like, nah, he can like act.
Right.
Like when he
right director,
when he wants to.
right situation, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking, this is like a casting heavy news section. So I talked about us being off the Fast and Furious corner because we are very much on the Oppenheimer corner.
Yeah, you tell me Christopher Nolan's leaving Warner Brothers and going elsewhere?
So this is a movie that we've mentioned, I don't know, 4 or 5 times
I don't know why this keeps coming up.
But more casting, that's why. Dane DeHaan is on board now.
Yes, I'll take it.
The Amazing Spider-Man 2's own.
Man. This year's just about redemption for everything that happens in those movies.
Jeez Louise. So Cillian Murphy in the starring role, but he is alongside Florence Pugh, Emily Blunt, Robert Downey Jr., Josh Hartnett, Benny Safdie,
Benny Safdie.
Yep, Matt Damon, and now freaking Dane DeHaan.
Yeah, what a nuts cast.
Christopher Nolan is just.
You said Emily Blunt as well, right?
Yes, I did say Emily Blunt, but. Man, Nolan is like, I'm leaving Warner Brothers and I'm taking all my actors
taking everybody with me.
So cool. I mean, I think this movie is. We talked about this a little bit, where we stand with Nolan in general, but especially his period pieces are always really, really solid.
Amazing, yeah.
So I'm not expecting anything different from this. You talk about Nolan. You talk about the cast. I mean, we're going to jump into the Oscars now, but I would argue whenever this movie releases that it's going to be on this list that we're about to dive into for the Oscars, which released their nominees today across their vast number of categories. I'm just going to let you kind of spearhead this.
Yeah, when I woke up this morning...
This is your avenue.
Yeah,
so.
I went to bed last night. They were like Oscar noms. I was like, oh boy. And I didn't sleep last night because I was too excited. So, yeah, we got some... This is it's a more tamed year than, let's say, 2018, I think, was a big year of a lot of anger. I believe that's the year that Green Book won Best Picture and Rami Malek won for when he played Freddie Mercury. So this year, yeah, real tamed, but still a couple surprises. House of Gucci. Sorry, Ridley Scott, you couldn't sneak your way in. However, Ben Affleck, you saw he got nominated for a Razzie.
Ugh.
Absolutely undeserved. I don't know who was.
Did you see Bruce Willis got his own category?
Yeah,
at the
he
Razzies?
did. Right, hilarious.
Shout out to him.
Yeah, we are the Razzies. The Project Infinite.
All right.
Yeah. But
we have very prestigious awards.
Which one do you want to talk about? Which category? And I'll give my opinion.
I kind of want to start on the Best Director category because this is the one that I have some confusion on, and I don't usually have
issues
confusion
with it, and I also have one major issue with it.
As the foremost Dune podcast in the podcast universe, that was us. If you want to listen to any of our episodes leading up to Dune.
There's a 95% chance that Dune was mentioned.
So I'm going to throw this, just a logic problem at you. If you are told that you're going to make a movie, and then that said movie is unfilmable, and then you go and create said movie that is unfilmable, and you film it on film, and it's very good, should you not at least be nominated for Best Director? Where the hell is Didn't even Lou on this list.
Yeah, so just looking at this, West Side Story, beautifully shot movie. I think Steven Spielberg, he kind of came late to the party for my argument that I made in 2019 about Spike doing The Five Bloods. You had Martin Scorsese doing The Irishman, and you had Quentin doing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It was like those veteran directors of Hollywood doing what they do best, like showing those younger directors and those new age directors, listen, we're like the founding fathers of this, like of this kind of newer era, like whether it be the 80s or 90s, like it's us, like we're the reason why like so many of the things that you do happen. So there's a reason Steven Spielberg snuck his way in, so I'm glad he got in there for West Side Story. I mean, I've talked about Licorice Pizza once or twice on here. It's one of the best movies of this year. Obviously, morally, we've got some issues morally, but in terms of production, directing, cinematography, like even original score, everything's so beautiful about this movie. It's one of the most accessible pieces that Paul Thomas Anderson has released. It's just it's such a feel-good movie. Then I know he's not known for making straight-up feel-good movies, but one of my favorites of the year. The Power of the Dog, I mean, I wasn't as high on this movie as everybody else was. Everybody was very adamant this is going to be the greatest movie of the year. Jane Campion did an amazing job, which she did, and I think that's who's going to win Best Director. Drive My Car has been getting so much praise. International film, it's just been getting all kind of that and The Worst Person in the World in terms of the international category. And then Belfast snuck its way in there too. I think you replace Belfast with Dune. I don't even think that's a question. That's where I stand on that as of this moment. I'm not keen on you winning every technical award you had. I think Dune had 10 nominations. I can't remember what movie had 12. I know
including Best Picture.
Including, so you have Best Cinematography, Best Sound Design, Best Costume, which I mean, the costume's not as much. You have Best Editing, like. You need to get that from somewhere, and I know, I think Dune Best Adapted Screenplay, like, so many technical awards you're getting pulled from.
Not just that, no acting noms for Dune.
And I'm not surprised that there's
I'm not surprised either, but I'm just saying, something must have made that movie Best Picture worthy.
Right, yeah. And I think the argument is that it was all the other stuff, it's all the technical stuff that made that movie, but, I mean, I said in the Dune review, cool, all those technical stuff amazing, but I think I spent a lot of my time talking about just that overall feeling of the world you're living in on Dune, and like this genuine feeling of exploring this new universe that we're not accustomed to and we're very new to, and like a lot of that comes from the performances. I mean, I even said it, if I'm to sneak somebody in, and like obviously I said I don't think any of them should be here. There's a lot of great performances, but Lady Jessica, absolutely amazing. If I were to sneak like a Best Supporting Actress in there, oh my god, just what an amazing performance she gave. So, just like as that broken mother that just has so much regret, it was so believable. I mean, I'm trying to think that, even the scene right before the third act, kind of where they're in the ship and they're kind of navigating the sandstorm, like just all her small moments are so good. And like the Gom Jabbar scene where she's kind of shaking, it's just absolutely it's truly amazing.
Yeah, go back and listen to our Dune review.
That's probably my favorite episode that we've done. It's one of my favorite ones,
other than the Batman vs Superman.
Yeah, that one was a special one.
But no, something like. Dune not getting a Best Director nomination, it defies the logic of everything else that got nominated. Like, if you're not going to nominate it for any acting awards, it clearly was. I mean, the acting was good. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't the standout acting that made that movie a Best Picture worthy nominee. And something that could. It's not gonna win Best Picture, but it would be justifiable if it did.
I agree with that, and I know a lot of the argument. And it's funny, I started talking to people about Dune because obviously I was in the minority of like knew what Dune was, read the book, and made sure I was prepared. But most people didn't, and I always would ask when people were like iffy on Dune, I would ask why, and they were like, I don't know. And I think that's because if I'm the Martin Scorsese like I did the last couple of weeks, I think we're so accustomed to these big, understandable worlds that we get from these superhero movies, where it's like that's the norm now. Of like if something's a sci-fi movie and it's different from that formula, where it's not immediately told to you, then it's a bad movie. Which it doesn't. It just you need to look deeper a little bit. That's all it is. Yeah. So I think that's probably my biggest regret about this nominations is probably Denis Villeneuve not being up for Best Director.
It's just odd.
He just creates these incredible worlds, and then he puts these people in these worlds, and he makes these ordinary people have to battle against these insurmountable odds and these beautiful and just awe-inspiring landscapes. It's incredible what he's able to do behind the camera. So
I guess we can knock out the two main actor ones.
Yeah, because I got some Jane, or do you want to do just Best Actor and Best Actress?
Sure. Yeah, so Best Actress, it's a great year for the mid-2000s in this category. So we have Jessica Chastain, we have Olivia Colman, we have Penelope Cruz, we have Nicole Kidman, and we have Kristen Stewart.
This really is just the mid-2000s over again.
Yeah, so give me some thoughts. I think
there's no thoughts.
I know
for
where
me.
you're going with this.
There's absolutely no thoughts. It's Kristen Stewart. But seriously, I know Olivia Colman might be the second out of here. And then if I'm going to rank off the top of my head, I'd probably put Kristen Stewart and then a space. And then, no, Olivia Colman was really good in The Lost Daughter. She kind of, what's the best way to explain this? She kind of had this fear over her, this fear that she gave off, this ominous fear. And it was kind of refreshing too in a type of role like that as well. Jessica Chastain, I didn't get a chance to see The Eyes of Tammy Faye, but I've been seeing clips everywhere, and she's really transformed almost in this movie. But then talking about transforming yourself, I mean, I still felt a little bit of Jessica Chastain, which is fine, but I felt nothing of Kristen Stewart when she was playing Princess Diana. It was absolutely incredible, the performance she gave. I mean, I've already talked about it twice on here. It's so amazing to see that you don't need to let one performance define you, and that you're an actor. That's you're supposed to be able to change and do different things, which is some people don't, and that's fine, but the best actors do that. And I think that and Personal Shopper, she's really starting to turn into her and Rob are just, it's so amazing that how far that they've come.
Yeah, when you think about what the month of March could look like for the two Twilight alums, it's pretty right. It's pretty surreal to think about that Pattinson could be on his way to what? I mean, who knows? The Batman could be an Oscar-worthy film.
We'll see. Just
by next year.
Yeah, just the way that movie looks. We're definitely going to do a preview for that in the coming weeks. But
yeah. Right around the corner.
Yeah, I mean, that movie looks absolutely incredible.
And then
I've never seen
Stewart
anything.
Could be well on her way to an Oscar.
I think that like I said, personally, I don't think this is really a debate. I think she gave the best performance of the year. And for either category, our best actor or actress, I think it was the best performance of the year.
Cue the Paul Rudd meme of Kristen Stewart from 10 years ago.
Look at us.
Who'd have thought?
Yep, her and Rob in the room. Look at us.
Look at us making movies. So best actor, we have Javier Bardem.
This is a hot one.
This is a good one. Javier Bardem, we have Benedict Cumberbatch from The Power of the Dog. Andrew Garfield, patron saint of the podcast. Andrew Garfield. We have Will Smith and Denzel. When you talk about especially black actors in Hollywood,
jeez,
Will Smith and Denzel are on maybe the Mount Rushmore.
Two titans. Two absolute titans.
Two deserving titans also for the two movies that they're being nominated for. Will Smith for King Richard, Denzel for Tragedy of Macbeth. So what are your thoughts on Best Actor?
I think it's going to be Benedict Cumberbatch. I think he'll kind of sneak his way. It's funny because, like I said earlier, I wasn't as hot on The Power of the Dog as everybody else. Trust me, I really like that movie. It's well deserving, but in terms of personal performances, he might have given the best of his career. That was just the way that he kind of crafts. Like I said before, I believe I talked about this when I might have talked about There Will Be Blood. It's like complex performances. It's not just I'm good for this reason, I'm bad for this reason, I do this. Much like Rue from Euphoria is a perfect example. That's a super hot show right now. It's probably the most popular show in the world right now. But it's getting
dangerously close to Game of Thrones territory.
No, it is,
the nights it comes out.
Yeah, the internet shuts down. But what I'm saying about this, it's very much like I love when it's just not as simple. It's not a simple thing. That's because life isn't simple. Performances shouldn't be simple as well, because that's not how human emotion works. So Benedict Cumberbatch, he's like, it's this rough and rugged interior, and it's this guarded interior that he has, and he's kind of just starts to reveal himself more and more to Cody Schmidt-McPhee's character, which he also was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for the same movie. So yeah, Benedict gave an incredible performance. I know who I want. I want Andrew to win.
Me too.
It's probably because of how much Tick Tick Boom effect. It's funny because it's kind of like, it's cool, you know. He had a great year. He's back as Spider-Man. It's amazing. But the movie Tick Tick Boom itself, it's just so personal for people that create art. That's why I loved it so much. And like, he was so, and it's like such an homage to Jonathan Larson as well. He did just such a, it's like a fabulous job that he did. Like, I hope he's able to kind of pull out a win, and just, it would be like the people's win if he wins. Like, everybody would
it's weird, like a category that includes, you know, Benedict Cumberbatch and Will Smith and Denzel Washington
and Javier Bardem
and Javier Bardem, and here comes Andrew Garfield, who is like the one that everybody wants to win.
Right. Yeah, like, I think it's going to be Benedict Cumberbatch. Will Smith is probably, he's a safe choice. Like, that's another safe choice. A very accessible movie for everybody, for a figure that people already knew about prior to this. And then obviously Denzel as Macbeth is just a stroke of genius, letting a really tenured actor, and like you said, one of the, not even black actors itself, just one of an actor in general in Hollywood, probably being, he can easily make a case for a Mount Rushmore of actors, period. That he kind of came in there and took another thing. He took Shakespearean lore and kind of brought it to life with Joel Cohen. It was in just such an incredible way, which I definitely want to talk about when we get to cinematography, because that's actually a very interesting category this year.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it. We saw Macbeth at different times. I saw it a couple weeks ago. When he speaks in that movie, it's like you have to pay attention to what's going on.
Yeah, it demands your attention. And it's not because of it's not necessarily even what he's saying. It's just, that's the garner of a great actor. It's like, I demand your attention because I'm on screen right now.
Yeah, and I think I said it to you. I think I might have texted this to you. When you really hear he maximizes the potential of Shakespeare, and he really brings out, you understand why Shakespeare is still regarded as one of the best writers of all time to this day. And when Denzel is speaking Shakespeare, you hear the poetry sing in every line, and it's just like, geez Louise, man.
The sequence in that film where, I believe it was after he killed the king, and they were at the party, and he snuck downstairs to tell them to go kill, who was it? It was, what was his name?
Banquo?
Yeah, Banquo's son. He wants to kill Banquo and his son. He sneaks down there with, why am I forgetting her name? Lady Macbeth, I don't know. Frances McDormand. He sneaks down there, and I mean, because like I said, we're going to talk about cinematography in a second, but the way they display it, he's kind of fluctuating the way, like, he'll give some and he'll start to get there, and then you won't hit the crescendo. Like, he'll pull back at the right moment. Like that, like when you talk about the potential of Shakespeare, that's it for me right there. It's like giving and taking and kind of playing, like getting to the point of emotion right before, and then just giving you the right moment to kind of explode, which he does in the third act.
Yeah, when he hits those climaxes in that third act, and you see the descent into madness.
Right. That's one of the greatest descents into madness of all time. Is Macbeth himself. So
right. Yeah, it's just much deserved. Nomination for Denzel. Let's jump into the cinematography category, since we're talking about it so much.
So you have Dune.
There we go. Dune, Nightmare Alley, Power of the Dog, Macbeth, and West Side Story.
I had two that I really wanted to see, and I knew one of them wasn't going to be there, and it was Spencer, because I remember I saw that movie, and usually movies that don't have like a bigger set are probably not going to get there. And just first of all, that movie was shot on Kodak film, which some of these movies were, but I keep having like this epiphany. I just got a film camera. Like, it's been super fun experience to like shoot on. So to nerd out for a second, there's this film called Cinestill, and Cinestill is repurposed Kodak film that they use in movies. So like Tarantino uses it, like it's the bigger film, and they kind of chop it down, and then they put it in the smaller rolls that you can have 35 millimeters. Like, you'll probably hear like this movie was 70 millimeter or 35 millimeter. So Spencer was shot on that, and I'm like, I saw it and I was like, she gave my favorite performance of the year. Cool, but the movie it just looked amazing. Like it was such this transporting feeling that I got from it, that like one of my favorite things about movies is when you can't feel yourself anymore, where it's like you're kind of transported, like you're now in that world. No matter how hard you try to think, you're gone for a little bit. And Dune? I think Spencer did a great job of that. Dune, I think Dune's gonna win. Greg Fraser is becoming an absolute beast of a cinematographer. I mean, he shot the Batman, and if you've seen any trailers, it's just that landscape of Gotham City looks so much different than anything I've ever seen before. He shot Rogue One, which people regard as maybe the best shot Star Wars movie of all time. And then he shot Dune. So him and Denis definitely have a great relationship, and now a lot of bigger directors in Hollywood are trying to get their hands on him as well. So I think that's his award to lose. Macbeth is it's the counter for it. I think Macbeth has a better production design itself of like building physical sets that are like, you can have them smaller and you can actually try to trick the audience by building smaller sets and then like, you know, kind of standing in places, which I know they did a little bit of. That black and white of Macbeth really accentuates kind of the Shakespearean lore. It just really highlights, like, it takes you away from worrying about like different colors of like color of leaves, whatever it may be, and it just immediately makes you focus on the Shakespearean language that they're saying. It makes you focus on the performances a little bit more. Agreed.
Yeah, when seeing Macbeth is it's surreal. It's a surreal kind of experience.
It is. Yeah,
it's because I saw it in the middle of the day, like at 2:00 showing, and you're sitting in this theater with like, I was in there with like, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 other people.
Same thing, yeah. I had like 5 people, yeah.
It just opens, boom. The movie just starts, and it's in black and white, and it's this grainy kind of, like the sound is a little muffled, and you're just like, whoa, like what, like you're in right away. Like you can't take your eyes off it. And you don't see Macbeth for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes.
No, you start with who do you start with? You start with one of the witches, I believe.
Yep.
I tell you, that creeped me out for 4 days after I saw that. It's like a perfect way, because she seems like this odd figure, and then as soon as she transforms, it's like, okay, you're immediately invested now. It's incredible. But I mean, in terms of kind of getting transported, Dune, in my opinion, is the best at doing that this year. It was, like I said earlier, I know people weren't as high on Dune because it wasn't something that was familiar, but that's the point of sci-fi in my opinion. You're supposed to look at sci-fi through the lens of people that could be you, and going into these worlds that are unrecognizable. So like, even when you're on Caladan, like, I love the sequence when they're on Caladan after Paul finds out that he was essentially bred to be the Kwisatz Haderach. Like, it's doing things like that, and then just having it shrouded in the kind of having it just straight up shrouded in fog. It's like, it's such a smart way to kind of immediately build tension between him and his mother. The scene where they land on Arrakis, and it's like you have that silhouette shot of all of them getting off the ship, and then also, like I said earlier, the scene where they're trapped in the sandstorm, I love that sequence so much, because because the whole time, this is more of like a narrative thing, but Paul thinks this whole movie that Jamis is about to be his best friend, his brother essentially, and then he ends up killing him by the end of the movie. But the way they shoot it, it's like, that's that mystery and wonder that I always talk about, which is film. It's like the mystery and wonder of life, of which you can explore, which is kind of what Jamis said in that sequence too. But it's all about transporting, in my opinion, for cinematography, like production design, and that just kind of getting you to a different world where you can kind of experience something new, and just, even if it's something familiar, like, what kind of artistic way are we presenting this world?
Yeah. I think we talked about it when we talked about Dune, was that movie does a wonderful job of establishing you in that world, a world that, as you alluded to, is unfamiliar to so many people. And I think that, that goes with cinematography.
Yep.
Cinema is a visual medium.
Yeah, it is. It is the visual media.
If the visuals don't bring you into the world, then you don't get as good of a movie. And obviously, this movie nailed that.
Right.
Anything else that you want to talk about?
Oh, yeah. Before we leave this one, my second one that I really wanted to hit that was Licorice Pizza as well. I definitely listened to a couple interviews, because Paul Thomas Anderson likes to shoot his own movies. Obviously, he has an assistant DP, but he usually physically shoots his own movie. It's notorious. He did that on Phantom Thread. He shot that. but it's the way they presented the 70s in that movie. It felt so real. It's like real for me never living in the 70s. I felt it. And it's through music too, but they do a great way of like throwing lens flares, because you're familiar with 70s lens flares if you've seen any movies from the 70s, like the costumes that they had, but all of that shot on film with it, just the kind of moving around California. It's just an amazing way that they did it. So I definitely wish that snuck in. It didn't. It's fine. It's Greg Fraser's award this year.
I think so.
Visual effects, you want to, because that's the one where it has it's got the superhero movies in there.
Yeah, the superhero corner.
That's what you guys checked in for.
They said, we're not going to give you a Best Picture nom, Spider-Man No Way Home, but have fun in the visual effects category, which you're probably going to lose to Dune.
Can I be honest? There's 3 movies in there that are better than Spider-Man No Way Home. And it's No Time to Die, it's Dune, and it's Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi had a dragon.
Yeah, it did. And it's funny, if you asked me...
Dune had a worm.
Yeah, Dune, well, I mean, that worm looked it looked real. That's the whole thing about Dune. Everything looked real. There was nothing that looked discernibly fake in that movie, which is just an achievement in and of itself, but... Yeah, again, that's Dune's award to lose, but let's talk about, because I had my rant when I didn't know you were recording before, that if you're going to put Spider-Man No Way Home, there's no reason you shouldn't have put the Suicide Squad in there.
So, maybe this is a bad read on my part, but it feels like they needed to find a spot for Spider-Man No Way Home.
Because I have a deeper theory on that, because I think they want people to watch the Oscars.
Yeah, so they wanted to get Spider-Man No Way Home somewhere in this Oscars.
Why didn't they just have Tom Holland host the Oscars? I thought that would have been an amazing choice, because that immediately would have got people to watch.
Yeah, so, and they didn't get it into Best Picture, so they were like, we gotta get it in somewhere, and I think it might just win because of that. I think they're just gonna throw it at the bone and be like, we recognize what you did for the industry in 2021, so here's your visual effects Oscar, and get out of my face.
But again, I think Shang-Chi looks it's a pretty solid... Listen, sometimes, especially I've said it, the Marvel movies don't always look great. I mean, do you think Eternals looks better than Shang-Chi?
I think it's shot better.
I agree with that. I think it's shot better.
I don't know if it looks better.
Because Eternals uses a lot of landscapes, which is not visual effects. They just use a lot of landscapes. Your visual effect was gold eye beam, so it doesn't really garner the same...
Speed.
It's super speed, right.
Super speed was pretty good, though.
Yeah, again, this whole kind of Oscar... This whole Oscar thing had 4 things, in my opinion. It had Dune doing all the visual effects things. It had House of Gucci making sure House of Gucci got nothing. What else was it? It was Andrew Garfield... And what was the last thing? And it was Spider-Man No Way Home. That was kind of the 4 things that it had going for it the whole time. So, obviously there's more. Obviously we're getting some jokes in, but still. I think, again, this is Dune's award to lose.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that they're going to use this category as the way to appreciate Spider-Man No Way Home. Because they have to. Like, let's be honest. That movie pretty much saved movies in 2021 for when nobody else was going to see them. And that movie did pre-pandemic numbers in the midst of a pandemic.
What is it, 6th all time?
Yeah. Right
now?
So I feel like they have to recognize that somewhat. You don't have to give it Best Picture. You don't have to give anybody any acting awards. Give it something just to recognize, hey, look. And I mean, look, Dune's going to clean up in a whole lot of other categories that it doesn't need the visual effects one.
But here's the thing, and again, this is kind of the dichotomy between the two of us, because I'm the pretentious film one between the two of us. It would be kind of idiotic to give... It wouldn't be idiotic, but it would just be kind of a smack in the face to the movie that clearly had better visual effects than the other one.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but I just, like I said, I just think that they're just going to throw this movie a bone, because I think, they have to. Because, you have to... Maybe they do just need to open up a category for blockbusters. Maybe that's where we're headed. I mean,
I'm not a fan of that, but the other thing is, where's the line? Because the whole thing has been superhero movies are for children. Superhero movies are, just cannon fodder for people to go turn their brains off and see. But then you get sequences like I'm just throwing a random one out there, like Gamora and Star-Lord in space and in front of the Nebula in Guardians of the Galaxy 1. I'm like, that's actually a really great sequence right there. Like,
yeah,
there's really great sequences in these movies. We're kind of, but do we pick and choose because Marvel's name's ahead of it? You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, and it might just end up being a Marvel award, but at the same time, when you look at the superhero movies that have been nominated for better Oscars in the past, I mean, where do you draw the line?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, Black Panther got nominated for being the movie that it was and the cultural impact that it made. Joker got nominated for being kind of different than everything else. The Dark Knight didn't get nominated famously for Best Picture, and that was the movie that really kind of started.
Yeah, that was the flagship one. Yeah,
because it didn't get nominated, so that was the groundswell was, you know. That was basically the ceiling, right? If The Dark Knight didn't get nominated, these superhero movies have zero chance at the Oscars. And then Black Panther kind of broke through that ceiling. I would say, I'm not going to say Joker broke through that ceiling. Black Panther definitely broke through that ceiling because that was a Marvel movie.
Again, I mean, to counter, that year was notoriously the year where people really it had that year, I believe, was the Green Book year, but that was the year where people were the most upset with the Oscars in recent memory because of all the movies that were nominated for Best Picture. I always say Black Panther had no business being nominated for best picture, but to use your argument, there's a reason it was there. It was to get people to watch the Oscars, and unfortunately, that feels like what the Oscars are divulging into is kind of, you know, more of a popularity contest. But then we have all these people, like, sometimes we don't know who's nominating these categories for the Oscars, and then movies like, famously, like Toni Collette in Hereditary didn't get nominated because it was a horror movie. The Green Knight, same thing this year. This fantasy horror movie had no place here this year. And again, that movie, I think, is leaps and bounds better than a movie like Don't Look Up. And so why are we're kind of picking and choosing based on category. So it's like we're using it when it's beneficial to like the Oscar nominators, and then when it's not beneficial to the public.
Yeah, and you know, exactly. And that's the delineation that it's a delineation that's made, you know, not just in the Oscars, but if you broaden the umbrella to like, even, you know, I don't want to get political, but I'm going to get a little political. It's endemic of kind of representation, right? Are the people that are in power, in this case, the people that are nominating these things, best representing the public? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I do think there needs to be a separation at some point, but it shouldn't. I think this year did a decent job, especially more so than other years, of nominating movies for Best Picture that, you know, the general public, quote unquote, is aware of. Right.
And yeah, that's another thing, is like movies that people saw, because I remember when we did our own award show, I talked about Minari and you said, what? Like, what is that? And it's like, and I'll tell people about that movie, like, hey, there's this incredible movie about the American dream. It was called Minari. And they're like, what are you talking about? But everybody knows what the Eternals are, what Shang, these are characters that nobody knew before this. But as soon as you smack that Marvel tag before it. And I mean, Ben Affleck, funny enough, had that same argument. He said if Argo was made today, nobody would know about it. It wouldn't get made today. It wouldn't be a wide theater release that it was in 2012. And it's unfortunate. It's sad, but that's the future.
Yeah, but I mean, there's got to be a way to break through that wall, and I don't know what that is, but someone's got to do it. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because it's not going to stop happening.
Right.
Like, you know, you're not going to shut these types of movies down just because no one's going to see them. You have to, and I think this goes on advertisers too. Advertisers needs to latch on to movies.
Yeah.
You know, more than the blockbusters. These companies the companies that are producing them need to put some money behind ad revenue and ad sharing, because, you know, you can't look 5 minutes before a Marvel movie without seeing a commercial, without seeing some type of promotion. That works. Promotion works, as old hat as it might sound. Like, you see something enough, you're going to be like, yeah, I'll go see that probably.
Right.
You know, how many freaking advertisements did you see for Licorice Pizza? Not many. Enough.
That one was more solid because of Paul Thomas Anderson's name, but I mean, to use that same logic, like a movie like Coda that was on Apple TV Plus, like nothing. I saw maybe one commercial.
And it's on Apple TV. It's not like Apple can't afford advertising.
Yeah, they definitely can. But again, you're picking and choosing what you do to make sure, because what sells, that's what it really, and that's really what's sad. It's like, and I think we're probably going to talk about it when we talked about the Snyder Cut. This might come up a little bit. It's what sells and what you can market and what people will go see versus like the actual art of what you're seeing. Like, what's more important? Like, is it more important that you're telling all of these stories and we're making sure, or is it important that we're making sure we're pumping out another superhero movie? Or another Fast and Furious movie? Like, what's more important? And to the studios, it's 9.99 out of 100 times they're going to tell you it's this, because that's how they're going to make their money back. It's a business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I said, something's going to come along at some point that breaks through that. Kind of, it's weird. It's like a reverse glass ceiling,
right? Yeah.
Like you now need like the cinematic movies to break through the glass ceiling. Mm-hmm. That was laid by these kind of blockbusters. But you know, we talked about The Matrix, you know, a few weeks ago, and that movie didn't do well. Mm-hmm. So, you know what I mean? It within that umbrella of, you know, the big blockbusters, there's also a quality control unit behind that, because it's not like these blockbusters are just blank checking for $1 billion. Mm-hmm. Like, we saw that with The Matrix. The Matrix didn't do well. So which is it?
Right.
Like, is everybody seeing all the blockbusters, or are people still being selective?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And these streaming services, in terms of like actually promoting art, these streaming services are doing a solid job of making sure. But again, Netflix is usually your top dog in terms of promoting these different movies. But again, how many, just because I live this, like, this is like my whole whatever social media feed is all these movies, so that's why I hear about all of them. But like, for you, for example, how many times have you seen a promotion for The Power of the Dog, which was supposedly supposed to be the greatest movie of the year?
Right. I can't tell you.
Right.
Not often. Not in a way that, you know, not on my TV that made me go, yeah, I'll go see that. Mm-hmm. Never happened.
Right.
Not on Twitter where I saw a Twitter ad for it, or a Facebook ad. You know, none of that happened.
Right.
So that's not around. Mm-hmm. And then lo and behold, it's going to clean up at the Oscars, and it's the movie that, I don't know, 15% of the movie-going public has seen.
Right. That was the movie that had more than The Power of the Dog had 12 nominations this year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, agreed. I mean, just quick fire so we can get into what everybody's come here to see. Actress in a supporting role, and Judi Dench snuck in there.
Hey, man. Unreliable.
Incredible that she stuck in there. I love it. Kristen Dunst might sneak that one out as well. She played a really compelling character in The Power of the Dog, and it was, again, that complexity of these performances and these narrative performances as well, are not just being as simple as like, I want to help my son be a better man. It's like, I can't because I'm facing the demon in the bottle. So really good stuff. Costume design. I mean, Dune is probably the one, but I mean, if I'm to sneak maybe a unsung hero, West Side Story might also be able to get a little bit of love right there. Sound, Dune, and again, that movie is one of the greatest technical movies I've seen. It's incredible what they were able to achieve. Original score, that's a big one for me. I spend a lot of my days listening to film scores when everybody else is listening to, you know, whatever they're listening to. I'm listening to I'm listening to the Dune score. I hope that guy that's on TikTok that's always like, what are you listening to? I hope he never finds me, because I'm gonna be like, oh, I was listening to the Up sound to the Up score. I was listening to the Married Life from Up. But again, Dune might grab that. The Power of the Dog, Johnny Greenwood did a great job. That also might be able to sneak it out. But again, Hans Zimmer, amazing job on Dune. Adapted screenplay. We can finish off with the screenplays because those are big ones. Adapted screenplay. Again, Dune is probably going to win adapted screenplay. It is the
makes you wonder about that best director.
Yeah, it is the sci-fi movie, or it's the sci-fi book. It literally was one of like the flagship, the biggest ones. It's
unfilmable.
And guess what? Denis did it.
Yeah.
So adapted screenplay, Dune. So you have Coda. Coda's a really beautiful movie too. So definitely go on Apple TV and watch Coda. It's about this young girl. Her parents are Coda's an acronym. I forget what the actual acronym is, but basically it's the child of deaf parents. And yeah, she wants to be a singer, and it's like difficult because her parents can't really understand that dream because they're deaf. So Lost Daughter. Maggie Gyllenhaal did a great job. She actually wrote the adapted screenplay for The Lost Daughter, and she directed it too. So shout out Batman. Shout out to Dark Knight series. And Jane Champion for Power of the Dog. And then original screenplay, this is always one of my favorites as somebody that's been writing screenplays for a little bit. Something that I really love. I really hope that, again, not the moral debate of Licorice Pizza is still up for debate, but I hope that Paul Thomas Anderson takes it home. He's one of my favorite writers. I made sure that I read some of his screenplays from There Will Be Blood and Phantom Thread just to kind of help me out as well. So that would be a fun win from him. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got for the Oscars out of those big ones.
We'll review them.
Yeah, we're gonna probably do an Oscar episode. Yeah, at this point, we're invested now.
Yeah, we are. All right. So, oh boy.
Oh, guess the movie that wasn't at the Oscars this year? Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Oh no.
Some people would say wrongfully that it wasn't there.
Oh boy. Okay. So this is going to be probably a little bit shorter a review than Batman vs Superman, regrettably. But that's because we spent so long talking about the Oscars.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. We don't have to talk about Justice League for that long. So this movie. Oh man, we might spend more time talking about like everything that led up to this movie before
than the actual movie.
Because they need to. HBO, if you're, I know you're listening to this. Make a documentary about this film, please.
Yeah, it's really. This is like in Hollywood itself. This has to be one of the craziest things that's happened over a prolonged period of time.
I mean,
where do we even start? Like, this is one of those things I don't even know where to. If I don't know where to start with the studio or with the fans, like this is.
So we start, I guess, post Batman v Superman.
So we got to preface this. Again, it's been, 2 years, and still sorry to Zack Snyder at the fact that he had to lose his daughter.
Oh my god, yeah. So that's definitely part of this whole thing. So Batman v Superman comes out to mixed reviews. Made a lot of money, didn't make the money that probably people thought it was going to make. But it made enough money that Warner Brothers was like, hey man, we gotta catch up to the Avengers, so let's go, Justice League. And sure, so all the major players are back. Ben Affleck is back as Batman, Henry Cavill as Superman, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, introducing all the people that we saw in the Lex Luthor Pinterest page in Batman v Superman.
Pinterest page.
So we see Ray Fisher as Cyborg, Jason Momoa as Aquaman, and Ezra Miller as Barry Allen, aka The Flash. This movie suffered from a litany of production problems. The script underwent insane amount of changes. And then obviously, as you alluded to, Zack Snyder lost his daughter and had to step away from the project. Enter Joss Whedon.
Number one bad guy in Hollywood, it seems like right now.
Yeah, big time scumbag, Joss Whedon. I mean, back then, in 2017, this was looked at as a good decision by Warner Brothers. They're going to bring the Avengers spearhead.
And it's funny, too, because, again, it's the counter. So it's your Avengers. So it's like the two big superhero teams of the opposite side is directed by the same guy. So it's kind of interesting.
And boy, doth it feel like it.
Nope. Whatever magic that you got from the Avengers is completely gone.
You go, did Joss Whedon make the Avengers good, or was it something else?
Yeah. Was it maybe the charismatic cast that made it good?
Yeah. It could have been that. So, JOSStice League, as it's called in the Snyder circles, is released to less than stellar reviews. It's kind of a mess. There's a whole just harem of Snyder stuff. There's clear Whedon stuff in there, especially as it relates to the character of the Flash and the lack of character of Cyborg.
Right.
And that's a whole nother.
There's so
subplot.
Much of this movie that's not the actual movie.
The Ray Fisher subplot is another total thing with this whole movie.
That's an episode.
It could be. It led to Ray Fisher going basically toe to toe with Warner Brothers,
making them choose. He kind of gave them an ultimatum. And he exposed them, essentially, too.
Yeah, he exposed them. He exposed Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon counterpunched with a real weird counterpunch about Ray Fisher not being a good actor. I've seen Ray Fisher in things.
Yeah.
I've seen him in the Snyder Cut.
Good.
Cyborg is arguably the most important character in the Snyder Cut.
And possibly the best thing about the Snyder Cut.
Yeah, so points against you, Joss Whedon. He had some real weird things to say about Gal Gadot also, about her not understanding him because of the language barrier, and just go away, Joss Whedon.
Yeah,
it's over for you.
Real bad guy.
Yeah, so Justice League is released. People are not happy about it, and they're like, release the Snyder Cut. Hashtag release the Snyder Cut.
I wonder who was the first one.
I don't know. I think we'll ever know. But yeah, so release the Snyder Cut is taking the world by storm, sometimes to the detriment of a lot of people.
Yeah, I think something happened to somebody at Warner Brothers. Like, somebody passed away, and I think in the comments it was like, we don't care, release the Snyder Cut. I can't remember how true that is. I think that happened. Guys, you want to talk about the fans?
Yeah, we can. Look, man, I know what people are going to say. They're going to say, we made this happen. Maybe to a degree, but if this movie was released and promoted on a major streaming service on pretty much the week it launched, this was being planned. They gave Zack Snyder a handful of bucks to film new material for this. So, they definitely were aware of the groundswell that the original kind of movement created, but this was probably in the plans far longer than people probably think. Controversy creates cash, as one might say, and this created a whole lot of cash and subscriptions for HBO Max. So they knew what they were doing. It wasn't all the fans that drove this project.
I will say, though, that it helped.
No, absolutely.
It helped. Yeah, that was... I'll never... Like, it was every time I'd open up any type of social media, the first thing, especially to the lead-up before the announcement, was just every day release the Snyder Cut, or, like, rumors of the Snyder Cut, whatever it may be. Because I remember what it was. Zach had the Man of Steel rewatch with Henry Cavill, and, like, the entire internet just exploded that day. I think they got it trending on Twitter the one day, release the Snyder Cut. Like, it was insane. I couldn't believe that they took over Twitter. It was nuts.
Yeah. So it happened. We got it. The Snyder Cut was released, and boy, are there some marked differences with between Whedon's version and Snyder's version, which we'll get into. The first bit is this is split into narrative acts.
6 parts, I believe.
6 parts and an epilogue.
And no prologue, just an epilogue, right?
Yeah. And so it's a slog. They're aware of that's a slog if you want to take some breaks. I think I've actually watched this in halves, basically. I watched the first 3 parts, and then I watched the end of it later on in the day that I was watching it. And you talk about a lot of the movie being in a movie. Woof.
A lot of slow motion.
Oh man, I had the number and then I bookmarked it and now it's gone. Snyder Cut. I'm gonna Google this real quick.
So while he's saying that, while he's finding that, Justice League, it looked bad. That movie looks notoriously like one of the worst comic book movies you'll ever find. Color graded so weird. You can tell they reshot so much of that movie, and again, that's constraints of a situation, but still, it still feels like they could have made some of that look better than it was. It just, things felt so out of place all the time. There's that scene with the Flash and Wonder Woman, which was very point right to Joss Whedon making sexual references to women, like just stuff that was just completely out of place that just didn't belong.
What is going on with the Flash in that movie?
Yeah, and I always say, so cool, the Avengers, amazing, what they were able to achieve. However, if you want to talk about, and I made this point last week, you have the superheroes, like you have the Flash, or you have you have the speedster, you have the human that is able to fight with these people, you have the superhero in Superman, and you have the woman superhero with Wonder Woman. Like, you have everybody you want in one movie. It was just all the opportunity that you would want. Even in the Snyder Cut itself, all the opportunity you want. I never felt that, like, that team. You know what I mean? That team that you can grow with emotion, like mentally and emotionally, that we got with the Avengers. I never felt that at one point in this movie.
No, because they're just characters thrown together.
Right, right. There's no build up to it. It's just, look at my...
And Superman's not there for most of it.
Right, right. My boy, look how they massacred my boy. But yeah, he
literally.
At least Willem Dafoe's in this movie.
He is.
Yeah, he is.
He is.
Willem Dafoe. Well, he should get they should throw out whatever honorary Oscar they're gonna do this year. Because I know probably R.I.P. Cindy Portier is gonna get a nice tribute this year. Throw some in there for Willem Dafoe too. Get him something. What a year that guy had.
So I don't even know where we should go with this. I really don't.
So Superman's dead.
Oh, also, it's 24 minutes and 7 seconds of slow motion.
And, oh my gosh.
Just slow motion.
Yeah, they really... And it's funny because the whole sell of this movie is like, oh, we're not cutting anything, like, everything's gonna be in the movie. And I'm like, okay, is that the best thing in the world? And I mean, the biggest point I'll make about this movie is what I told you as soon as I found out. Whatever was happening in this movie, as long as Zack Snyder's name was in front of it, people were going to think this is the greatest comic book movie of all. I told you that. It did not matter what was released. It could have been a completely different movie. Could have been 2 hours. Could have been 6 hours. Didn't matter. People were going to tell themselves this was the greatest movie of all time. Didn't matter what it was.
And guess what? It's not.
Yeah, there's a couple of comic book movies. However, okay, I'll say it. I like this movie. I enjoyed it.
Fine.
Yeah, I enjoyed this.
It's too long.
It is. It's incredible.
There's a lot of stuff that doesn't need to be in there.
No, it's not. No. And especially if there's no payoff to any of this stuff, then it just does not need to be in this movie. And then we get to the restore the Snyderverse thing, which he's done. I don't think he's unless. Well, I mean, the old Spider-Man No Way Home has really been the benchmark for people coming back to do old stuff that they did. Because now I don't know if he's gonna. He could tell himself, you know what? Let's try it. But it's not like an actor coming back. This is like, you have to get budget for a movie and market that movie and try to sell it. And I mean, you said controversy creates cash. I mean, getting more Snyder content might create more cash for them.
Yeah,
but it's just the convoluted nature.
I think they're moving on from it, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, look what the Suicide Squad did with 0% of the controversy.
Right.
Like, James Gunn just went out there and made a good movie.
Yeah, that's like, we should do more of that, guys. Yeah, just go out there, just try to forget all
and now he's making a killer TV show for them also.
Right, yeah. Forget all the...
If you're going to give anyone a Justice League movie from DC, give it to James Gunn. Oh my God,
imagine James Gunn, what he did with the Guardians and what he's done with the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker. Like, that would be awesome.
So, I don't think they really need Zack Snyder to make them any more money.
And you see the group of
James
people...
Gunn making them all the money now.
You've seen those group of people that really hate James Gunn, right? And they think he's destroying the DCEU. Debatable.
Debatable. I'd say he's doing a pretty good job with it. Especially then The Flash is coming.
Have some fun.
Yeah, so that's what the original 2017 Justice League tried to do. It tried to have fun, but it just was poorly delivered. Mm-hmm. Like, so there's a couple characters, it's probably two characters I want to talk about. I want to talk, because it's night and day. I want to talk about the night and day characters from the 2017 version and the Snyder version. That would be The Flash, that would be Cyborg. So The Flash in the 2017 version is essentially the comic relief character. Mm-hmm. He's much more important in the Snyder Cut.
Yeah, he is.
Still got his jokey moments, but it comes off as more earnest. It comes off as like the kid who wants to be like sit at the cool table. Where in the 2017 version, he's just a goof.
Yeah, agreed.
For what?
Yeah, no reason. And it's like whenever you do, so your comic relief characters, in my opinion, you always need to counter or preface that with a moment of emotion, like a moment with like breaking them down.
Think of Drax,
right,
and Guardians.
Right.
You know.
Both the game and the movie. The game does a really good job at that.
Rocket too.
Rocket, yeah.
Same way. Right. Same thing.
But to that point, same thing. The Flash really kind of gets... in the JOSStice League, he really just he's just throwing in there just to...
He saves a couple of Russian kids and then he goes Dostoevsky.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Yeah, he really is goofy.
Counterpoint, Snyder Cut has maybe one of the best pure superhero moments ever.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, so the famous show, if anybody's a fan of the Flash TV show, we kind of get the breaking of the Speed Force, or kind of the formation of the Speed Force almost. So really good moment where he tells himself, it's a really, I forget what they call it. I think they call it Chekhov's gun in screenwriting, where you tease something and then you finally get the pay. Yeah, so
it's telegraphed.
Right.
The time travel bit is telegraphed.
Right. So he's telling himself, I can't break that rule. I can't break my rule of running too fast, where I kind of alter time a little bit, and then he does it. And it's a really, really well done sequence. Basically, the entire world's being annihilated, and he kind of catches himself, throws himself into like that. If you're using the TV show term, that flash time, throws himself into the Speed Force and runs himself back in time and goes to the moment right before, gives the energy bolt to Cyborg so he can fight the mother boxes. That was a little weird.
It's a little weird.
Yeah.
Look, there's some problems with this movie, but I did want to highlight the Flash because it's a night and day kind of portrayal, and he's much better served in the Snyder Cut.
But more importantly,
yes, Cyborg.
Wow,
Cyborg is ostensibly the main character.
Can we stop giving Miles Dyson technology to mess around with? Maybe that's also a good thing. Yeah. I was talking to somebody about Terminator 2. I hope when we start doing more retro reviews, we talk about the Terminator, specifically Terminator 2 Judgment Day. I think it's one of the greatest action movies of all time.
Agreed.
But again, stop giving Miles Dyson technology. You see what happens? Bad things happen.
Yeah.
I guess he did a good thing. Guess he saved his son. So yeah, he's the emotional core of this movie, and he's kind of the glue that holds this team together as well. Wonder Woman goes to recruit him. He's like, no, I don't want to do this. He tells his father, you turned me into a monster. I'm just going to mope. And it's kind of this, he kind of has like a discovery story, like a self-discovery story of like, you might not look the way you want to look. Your life might not have went the way it wanted to go, but you really have an opportunity to help. It's the great power, great responsibility. Like,
literally.
Yeah, like now you have all this power to help people, and they have this really nice scene where he kind of gives the struggling mom like $10,000 or something like that. It shows you what a hero is. Like that's a really good moment of like your call to action.
Almost like Cyborg should have been in his own movie before this.
Mm-hmm. Would have been cool, or maybe even a Teen Titans movie. That would have also been cool.
Yeah, but no, Ray Fisher's great in this. He, like you said, he's the emotional core of this movie. He's in a lot of ways the point of view character.
Yeah,
also,
he is, yeah.
Which is in the 2017 version, I guess the point of view character is Batman.
Right, because he's the recruiter. And then also, so I know I made sure I read it a while ago, but I made sure I flipped through it. The Jeff Johns Justice League, which is obviously the big influence behind this, especially with the adding of Darkseid to the Snyder Cut notoriously. But Cyborg, again, same thing. They kind of go point of view from character to character in the Jeff Johns run of the Justice League, but same thing. It's Cyborg gets a lot to do because of his transformation from Victor Stone into the true Cyborg. So it's really good to see him kind of. It's tough to watch too. It's like he loses his mother, he loses his father, and again Aquaman 2 going from the 2017 version of like this cool, like doesn't give a crap about anybody, like the reason they got Jason Momoa, but then somebody probably went back, it's like, you know what, Jason Momoa might be able to give some nice emotional moments, and then he did. He said, I think Flash asked him, he's just like, I never said I didn't care about him. Like, he lost his father and we're asking him to go against like the biggest powers in the universe. Like, moments like that are good. I appreciate those.
Jason Momoa and Gal Gadot don't have a ton to do in this
They're
movie.
the same character, really. They're like the royalty of whatever houses they're from.
Yeah, and it's a little disappointing, especially in her case, because Wonder Woman was maybe the best DCU movie, the first Wonder Woman, and in this, she's kind of just there to do flippy stuff and
slow motion. Yeah. And the music.
And like her powers are weirdly reduced.
Yeah,
it feels like.
I really want to talk about power levels if I'm to get anime with everything. I really want to talk about power levels. So
it's over 9,000.
Yeah, and I guess we can knock out the power levels and then Superman right in one swoop, because that's that's probably one of my bigger issues with the DCEU as a whole, especially like the Snyder era of the DCEU.
Yeah.
How strong is Superman? Because the way they present, it's like, that's another thing that breaks the team dynamic, is like, well, we don't need anybody besides Superman to do any of this. So,
and
like, you guys...
happens in both versions of the movie,
right,
too.
like, you resurrected him, and he immediately turned into the MacGuffin. Like, I don't know why you make your main character the MacGuffin if you're to have one in the... Because it's supposed to be the mother boxes, but then it just turns into Superman.
Yeah, he just shows up and just...
He splits the mother boxes with... Yeah,
and he just washes Steppenwolf.
Yeah, like, they were struggling to fight, and there were some really compelling fights with Steppenwolf in the movie, too, where, like, I genuinely didn't feel safe for any of them, and then as soon as Superman steps up, because it doesn't make sense, because in Batman vs. Superman, Wonder Woman was holding her own with Doomsday. Like, because we made the rant last week, like, why wasn't she the one that grabbed the spear and stabbed Doomsday?
And there's also the weird sequence where they're fighting Superman, and Aquaman and Wonder Woman can't do anything with him, and they're both demigods.
But then Superman starts fighting Steppenwolf at the end of the movie, and then they immediately are just able to just throw Steppenwolf around Aquaman and Wonder Woman.
Because he's scared?
Yeah, I don't know. It's really weird. It's disappointing for Wonder Woman, because I'm thinking one of the most raw sequences in a superhero movie is when she kind of gets the flip switched in Wonder Woman and she just starts tearing through the German army in that movie. It's so good. I love that sequence right there. It's like, I know it's big CGI end fight, but like, aside from the airy stuff, that part was really cool, because like, she was just tearing tanks and just it's like practical throwing everybody around. It was amazing.
And then in this, she's just like no match for Steppenwolf.
Yeah. Aquaman literally picks up a submarine in the movie, in his own movie. Like, where's the disconnect between any of this?
And in case you're wondering where Batman is during all this, not doing a whole lot. Again,
he's the recruiter. He's the guy.
He's the recruiter, and then he's the guy who shoots aliens with guns.
Yeah, he doesn't feel like, and it's because he feels so much like a broken Batman in Batman vs Superman. Like we said last week, he's the best point about that movie. It just, even in this one, it takes away a little bit of what I was feeling.
Still holds his own against Superman.
Yeah, he does. Which again,
and then in this, he's just like, whoa,
yeah, right.
Parademons.
Yeah, like, and he definitely gets his hits in. He upgrades his armor a little bit, does his thing, but same thing. It just, Batman in terms of comics, because I was also reading through a little bit of Grant Morrison's JLA in preparation for this too. Batman, he's the human. He's the one, but he always feels like he should be there because he has an answer to all these things. Like here, this is a bigger issue, but like, it just feels like he doesn't need to be there. It doesn't feel like, honestly, it doesn't feel like you could have Wonder Woman or Aquaman and leave one of them, and it would be the same movie. Like, the movie doesn't change.
Yep, I agree. Steppenwolf. Let's talk Steppenwolf real quick before we get to Superman.
Fine. Yeah. I don't have a lot to say about him. I know people were like radically like, I mean, the bigger
redesigned.
Yeah, like
in the Snyder Cut.
And people are like, "Oh my, this is the greatest thing." I'm like, he looks okay. Like he doesn't look like the greatest.
He's just another great alien guy.
Right, like
we've seen this guy before.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Pretty sure I saw this guy in Lord of the Rings.
Right. Like it's not anything just groundbreaking.
He's not that scary or menacing.
Especially I will say when he was fighting the Amazons in the beginning of the movie, I did feel it a little bit of like, all right, he's a genuine threat right now.
But then you just realize he's a simp for Darkseid.
Yeah, this guy loves himself. He's basically Ebony Maw to Thanos. That's all he is.
Desaad.
Yeah.
Look what I did, Desaad.
Desaad, check that out.
I got the mother box.
It's pretty freaking cool, right?
Desaad is like, oh my god, shut up.
Block.
block, ignore.
Yeah, so, yeah, Steppenwolf, fine. Nothing really there's not much to say about him.
No. And then he gets mollywopped.
Yeah, he gets babied at the end of the movie.
And then he gets beheaded.
It's like when Shaq catches the ball in the post. It's exactly what happens. Don't matter.
Darkseid is in this.
Yeah.
For a bit.
I actually kind of like the sequence, when the flashback sequence, when they go back to the original war. But again, this brings up another argument. So I know in comics, I think the thing is like Darkseid's supposed to get more powerful as time goes on. But still.
Sweet power, bro.
Still, man, you should be messing up. You should have killed whoever was human should have died in seconds. I don't care what kind of weapon.
So here's my question. If he could have just portaled the Earth whenever he wanted, why didn't he not just do it before Superman showed up?
Yeah, right? Like, what was it? They lost the the anti-life equation.
Did he lose it, or he was just looking for it?
But how do you lose it? Or he was looking... Hey, okay. Oh, man, rant number 1. You're telling me
Here we go.
The most powerful thing in the entire DCU is implanted into the surface of the Earth.
Isn't this Transformers again?
That's so stupid. That's so dumb. I hate that.
What was the Transformer movie where Earth was Unicron?
Oh, you're talking about whichever one, the
last Michael Bay one.
Yeah, was it The Last Night?
No, not The Dark Knight.
Yeah, The Dark of the Moon was that. It wasn't The Dark of the Moon. It was the one with Mark Wahlberg. Whichever, the second one with Mark Wahlberg.
Last Night.
Yeah, The Last Night. Oh,
Anthony Hopkins is in that movie.
Yeah, he is, and it's okay. So I'll never forget. I saw that movie with with 2 friends, and like I go in there, and I'm like, this is like before changing aspect ratios was normal. So I was like, what's going on? That movie was the cuts in that movie were horrible. Michael Bay, just stop. I hope Ambulance is good.
All right, relax.
Jake Gyllenhaal being Jake Gyllenhaal, I'll take it.
Yeah. So the anti-life equation, Darkseid. Again, if he could have just shown up on Earth whenever he wanted,
and then he just did it. He just
looked. He was like, nope.
Yeah, and then Steppenwolf dies, and then he just does it, and I'm like, and Superman's alive, so I'm like, so why did you wait?
Yeah, you goofed.
Yeah,
Darkseid.
Is it because he found out it was there?
Didn't he not know before that? Didn't Steppenwolf was like, I think it might be here. Even if it might be there,
yeah.
I'm going.
Right. That's like the one thing you want.
And it's clear that Darkseid didn't even like Steppenwolf.
No, he
really
didn't
trust him to do much of anything.
It was said that Steppenwolf betrayed him before that.
Maybe he set him up. Maybe he knew Superman was coming back. And he was like, watch this. I'm Darkseid. Welcome to Jackass.
Right.
And then instead of putting Steppenwolf in a room with a bear and covering him in honey, he just put him up against Superman. He's like, Granny Goodness, get a look at this.
Yeah.
Steppenwolf's about to get beheaded.
Yeah.
Classic Steppenwolf.
Yeah. Real weird.
Granny Goodness is in this?
Yeah. I was hoping that... Because, alright, the movie's 4 hours and you threw Martian Manhunter in.
We're not going there yet.
Oh yeah, I gotta clear out for that one so you can go crazy about that.
But Martian Manhunter is in the regular cut, not in the regular cut, but in the movie.
Right.
That's the big General Swanwick twist that Zack Snyder's been teasing since 2013.
Yeah, which everybody knew that it's an ominous guy that's just walking around that knows a little bit more than he should. Yeah, it's probably Martian Manhunter.
Gets Lois Lane to get her head back in the game? Question mark.
Again, this movie has a bunch of like. It didn't need to be, like, narratively it doesn't make sense, but like I said earlier, it didn't matter what was in this movie. People were going to say this is the greatest thing ever.
Look, and then, alright, so I guess we're going to do the Superman piece now. Look, first of all, it's a problem that they killed him in Batman vs. Superman.
Why is it so difficult to write Superman for them? The
job is done, it happened, and now we got to write a way to get him back into life, and that's the power of love.
Mm-hmm.
That did it, that did the trick.
Yep. Yeah, so they bring him back to life. They try to use the mother box to bring him back to life. It works. And it's, what does Flash say? It's very Pet Cemetery, so he's like a zombie of himself for a little bit.
Yeah, he doesn't remember. He's evil.
It's just basically so he can fight the Justice League and show that he's the... So, also, he has an aura around the movie too, and like I love the way that the Jeff Johns run does it, because it's very much of like Superman's this alien that like people don't know about, so it's like it's very like you gotta be a little careful, and like Wonder Woman's the one that's like people know about, and like she's in Washington DC when the movie or when the comic picks up with Steve Trevor, so it's kind of cool. But this one, it's like nobody matters because Superman came back. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's just he can take care of everything. It just turns into a Superman movie.
He literally defeats the entire Justice League.
Right. And then he defeats the main villain.
Like, no nonsense.
They give him the right from Star Wars where it doesn't matter what goes up against. He
defeats the whole Justice League.
Yeah.
He sees the Flash while he's holding Wonder Woman and Aquaman back.
And Cyborg.
And that's right, Cyborg's there too. And Batman's just like, no, Clark, don't do it. Mm-hmm. And Superman almost crushes his head like a grape before Lois is like, no, Clark. And he's like, oh my God, Lois.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fly away again. He does it again. Mm-hmm. The same thing that he did in Batman vs Superman. He sees Lois and he just leaves.
Yeah. Maybe he doesn't like Lois.
Like, why did they not coordinate his arrival better?
Right.
in the final fight. Like, why couldn't Batman be like, hey, could you knock it off with your woman?
He literally can travel around the world in like seconds.
He can see the Flash running.
Yeah, you could be there. You just did it for the most dramatic moment. What was he doing the whole time before? Where was he?
Standing in a cornfield.
Was he drinking tea with Alfred? Was he just like...
Oh, that's right. He went to see Alfred.
Yeah, is it like, I'll get there. And he's just like, Alfred's like, you know you really should get down there. He's like, I'll be there.
I'll get there.
Yeah, I'll get there eventually.
He wears the black suit?
Yeah. Why? Because... Death of Superman, I guess. Narrative, like...
How are you going to give him the black suit and not give him a mullet?
Yeah, again, the whole thing with that is, like, it was trying to be the comic book panel, right? Cool. But that big hero moment, they never feel like the true Justice League at that moment. They don't feel it. Like, they even get the big... Day saved, like, panel, like, that probably every Snyder Cut fan had as their, like, Twitter background forever. Cool. Looks good, but I don't feel it. Like, I don't feel the emotional hit of this.
It's like Batman vs Superman all over again. None of it's earned.
Yeah.
None of it's earned. The team, I shouldn't say none of it's earned, because some of the character moments are earned. The Flash moment is earned, the Cyborg moment is earned, but nothing else is really earned. Like, what does Batman do in this movie?
Recruit and make the ship for them to get to...
So he's Nick Saban?
Yeah, Batman as Nick Saban is kind of... I like that. That's cool. I'll take that.
But, yeah. And then, I don't know. What else are we talking about in this movie? Because, I mean, Ryan Choi's in this movie. Yeah,
Ryan Choi, and he's hilarious in this movie. He's great. He's got a lot of good moments. Yeah, a lot of setup in this movie for stuff that's never going to happen.
Never going to happen. That's the thing about this movie. A lot of this movie, I'm glad... Look. I'm glad Zack Snyder got to finish it. I'm glad he got to do it.
Me too, yep.
I'm glad he got to throw his vision out there. But this idea that this is ever going to go anywhere undercuts a lot of what happens in this movie.
And also that this movie's perfect somehow.
Yeah, and it's not. Look, it's cool that he got to finish his vision, but it's okay also saying that it's okay. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's just an okay movie. It's not the best superhero movie. It's not even the best movie of this trilogy.
No, it's not. It's Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Man of Steel love. Still running strong.
It's weird that this movie's 4 hours and I have no idea what happens in it. That's weird.
I remember what happened more because, I mean, that's the narrative thing, like, that we were stumbling on Batman vs. Superman because how convoluted. This narrative's a little bit easier, but this movie, again, it did not need to... The only reason it was 4 hours long is because of the... I even hate to use the word gimmick because I feel bad saying that in terms of Zack Snyder, but from like a fan perspective, it's very gimmicky to make this 4 hours. And like, it's a selling piece. Like, you're going to get 4 hours of content of this and 24 minutes of it is slow motion.
Right. And there's just a lot of like aha moments, like the lanterns being in the flashback and him, Darkseid fighting the gods of Olympus. It's a lot of stuff that's, like, cool to point out, but stuff that doesn't really need to be there for the story's sake. You know what I mean? Especially everything that happens in the epilogue.
Why don't you go off? Go off. You let me talk about the Oscars. Go off.
Oh, my God. Okay. So, I think the movie should just end when it ends. Like, I think it should just end with the scene that I thought happened in Batman vs. Superman, where they set the headquarters up at Wayne Manor, and he's like, yep, look at this. Look, I got my table, I got my chairs, and there's room for more. And Wonder Woman's like, yes, room for more. And that's fine. If that's where the movie would have ended. Actually, I like the scene where Barry sees his father. I like the scene where Cyborg listens to the voice recording from his father. I like all the stuff with fathers. The father stuff is very good. Clark somehow just goes back to work at the Daily Planet.
Okay. Oh no, my Batman vs Superman rant's not over. So he died. He's dead. Like, the paper said the paper that Perry White literally runs says this man is dead, and he just comes back to work, and everybody's cool with it, right?
All the meanwhile, Superman also shows up back to work.
You guys are investigative reporters. And the whole point of that last fight in Batman vs. Superman was to say, nobody's on the island because it's uninhabited because of Man of Steel. Cool. So you're telling me Clark Kent and Superman die. They show up on the same day. Literally in the same week. They show up. And nobody's suspicious. Cool. Okay. Batman vs Superman. He dies and Superman dies at the same time on the same island, and the guys that have the same color hair and have the same skin everything's the same. Not suspicious. And then he comes back from the dead at the same time that Superman does, and nobody was like, something's off. Something don't seem right. Nobody asked where Clark's been for the last 18 months. Nobody.
I did like the the race between him and the Flash. That's the most fun he is at the end of that movie. That's the most fun Cavill as a Superman is at the end of that movie.
He had some fun at the end of Man of Steel when he was talking about his plans.
I guess. But he's not like, he doesn't do like what Tyler Hoechlin does well as Superman, where he's like kind of like the all-American, like goody two-shoes guy. Like he's kind of cheesy. There's not enough of that with Cavill. He gets there a little bit at the end of this, but...
And I remember there was rumblings before Wonder Woman 84 that Patty Jenkins was also going to, because of how many homages she had to the Christopher Reeves Superman in the first Wonder Woman movie, that she was going to take Henry Cavill and give him another chance. Kind of wish that would have happened. That would have been nice.
Anyway, the epilogue.
Jeez.
So Jesse Eisenberg is back in this.
Yeah.
At the epilogue. It's the original post-credit scene from 2017's Justice League, where he's just chilling on a yacht. He's escaped from Arkham Asylum. He's visited by Slade Wilson. Hello, Deathstroke is here.
Yeah, Joe Manganiello. Wish that would have played out, because that's what the Batman movie was supposed... They even had a teaser for that Batman movie, and it still didn't play out. God, just so much wasted potential.
So Lex Luthor's like, Slade Wilson, I'm putting together a team of my own. And Slade's like, yeah? He's like, where do we start? He's like, well, Bruce Wayne's Batman, first of all.
Yeah.
And Slade Wilson's like, what? How did I not know this?
Alright, okay, so, listen. So, supervillains are the dumbest people ever, right? Because instead of just blowing up Wayne Manor, right, which you easily could have done, or do something like just snipe back. Okay, so you're telling me Deathstroke exists in this universe, right? And you can't kill Bruce Wayne? You know who he is. You're supposed to be the smartest guy ever. And you can't kill Bruce Wayne? That's what you want, right? Is him dead? Or do you just want to mess with him? Why would you just mess with a guy that's Batman? God.
So
what's the point? Why are you you had kryptonite, you could have killed Superman. You did kill Superman. You could have killed the Flash probably if you wanted to. Just put some ice out. I don't know, call Captain Cold, whoever he would play in the DCEU.
Shoot him in the head.
That's fine. I take Aquaman's trident away. I don't know. Do something.
Shoot him in the head.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, right. Why are you setting up your own league? You could have dealt with this before if you weren't so stupid in Batman vs Superman.
Yeah.
I freaking love you in the Social Network, Jesse Eisenberg.
So I hope you're not sick of Joe Manganiello, because you're going to see him again in this epilogue.
That Rob loves so much.
Boy, howdy. So we go to the future. Future? Alternate timeline?
Because they even... Joker even says it's... Oh my god. He even says it's an alternate timeline. But is it the... He said how many... What did he say? How many alternate timelines does this happen? And I'm like, wait a second. Is the Flash the one bringing them back each time?
I don't know, man.
Is it an Edge of Tomorrow situation?
So we return to the nightmare place from Batman vs Superman. And there's a ragtag bunch of alternate characters in this alternate universe.
So we got Cyborg. Batman.
Looking worse for wear.
Yeah.
Batman in a trench coat.
The Flash has armor.
The Flash looks like a Power Ranger. Mira.
Has an English accent? But then doesn't in Aquaman? What are we doing? Why? So just give her the accent in Aquaman.
Deathstroke is there.
He's my favorite person that's standing there.
And, is he? Because the Joker is also there.
Oh my god.
I've heard some say that this is the best Batman Joker interaction in live action.
I just bring it back to when Batman slams Heath Ledger's head against the desk and he says, "You never start with the victim's head." He gets all and you're telling me that him telling him all this stupid stuff is better than that? No.
I don't know what's happening in this conversation between Batman and the Joker. It's a lot of weird metaphors.
Not a cheap shots between the two of them.
A lot of low blows are being thrown, and not a lot gets accomplished. It's not clear why Joker's there, why he's necessary.
What help does he have against the guy that can rip him in half? What help is this? He's... Oh my god, why? Why? There's no point for him to be there.
Batman says, and I quote, if you say one more word, or I promise Harley that when I kill you, and believe me, I will effing kill you. So edgy, Batman.
Wasn't that a big selling point of the Snyder Cut, is that my Batman says the F word?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's such a waste. It's such a forced line. Leto is bad in this. I don't know how anyone could look at any of his performances as Joker and be like, yeah, let's see more of him in the Suicide Squad air cut thing. No. Look, Jared Leto, I know you're listening. You're listening with the heads of HBO also.
Yeah, you don't have to go to the Oscars this year, so now you're listening to this.
Both of you are listening. Look, you weren't bad in the Suicide Squad because your part was cut out. You were just bad in the Suicide Squad, and you were bad in this. And I hope you never play Joker again. And that's all I gotta say about that. Superman shows up at the end of this flashback forward alternate timeline.
Okay, so cool, right? He shows up. What's the point? So the only thing I can garner from this is that the Flash is the one that just outruns and just resets the timeline, right? That's the only thing that makes sense. If I ever find out that's not the case, then Superman's the worst supervillain of all time, because how don't you can just kill all of them in seconds?
Okay, here's a question. Is in the nightmare future, is this happening, or is this still...
Right. Is this fake?
Or is this... Because it's a fake thing in Batman vs. Superman, but then the Flash really comes from the future? Or he wakes up... It's like Inception. Like, he wakes up twice. Like, he wakes up from the nightmare sequence, and then the Flash runs through his screen, and then he wakes up again. So did all that even happen?
Who knows, man?
Also, Superman's wearing the blue and red suit.
Right. Why wasn't he wearing the black suit then? He should have worn the blue and red suit because it's the formation of the jump. That's like Captain America wearing like a Hydra suit in the Avengers. It doesn't make any sense.
And when he's Hydra Cap, he's wearing his regular Captain America costume.
Well, I mean, technically he did.
All right, fair
Sorry.
Point. But, like, what? Why does that nightmare sequence have to be in this?
Because we were promised content, and we got it.
It doesn't go anywhere.
It doesn't.
Nor will it ever go anywhere, nor am I honestly even interested in seeing it go anywhere.
So Bruce wakes up.
Oh, yes. Okay.
So it's a dream, again, because Darkseid says, we're going to use the old ways and travel to Earth, which, again, why didn't you just do that in the first... Superman was dead because if he was dead, right... and you just killed everybody on Earth, he wouldn't have been able to have been woken up without the mother box, so it wouldn't have mattered. Why didn't immediately because he would have known if he was dead. He said the whole movie is about him being dead so you can attack Earth.
Yeah, because Steppenwolf was like, Superman's dead.
Did you just not want to pay the toll fees of space? Like, why didn't you want to go to Earth?
Bus?
Yeah, are you taking this? Just a bunch of Grady Goodness is in the, like, everybody's just trying to fit.
They're taking the same plane that the Mandalorian rode on?
Yeah.
The last episode of Book of Boba Fett. Yeah. Darkseid's flying commercial.
Yeah. Darkseid flying commercial is hilarious. Like 100,000 like parademons, Grady, like all his generals and stuff. It's just like, all right, guys, do we pack everything before we leave?
Who's got A23? That's me.
Yeah.
Windows C.
Windows C. Only. Desaad has to sit in the. He's just, oh god, look at the window.
Yeah. So Batman wakes up and then knock knock on the door. It's General Swanwick. But he's not General Swanwick anymore. He's Martian Manhunter. He just shows up as Martian Manhunter
and just drops off his application to be a member of the Justice League.
Bruce is like, hello, and he's like, all right. He's like, hello, Batman. I've been monitoring this situation closely. Not closely enough.
He pulled an Eternals.
Not closely enough that I could have actually contributed in any way with this situation. But I'm just here to let you know that if anything else should kick up, I want in. I'd like to be on your team. And, hello. I have a very particular set of skills. Mm-hmm. I can transform. I can walk through walls. I can fly. Mm-hmm. Batman's like, great. We got a bunch of people on this team that can pretty much do everything that you do. But, he's like, I've gone by many names. John Jones.
Did he just do the Apocalypse line from X-Men Apocalypse? I've gone by many names in many lifetimes.
I've been General Swanwick. I've been Martha Kent.
Martha Kent for a little bit, because why not?
Because I had to get Lois Lane back in the game. You gotta get back in the game, man! Clark needs you. Meanwhile, Ben Affleck is maybe doing his best acting, because
that was definitely a reshoot because his face looks different than it did in the actual movie.
he just looks like, oh my god, just get me out of this.
This is the last thing I'm ever going to do as Batman, and I'm done. Oh, I mean, the Flash movie, but...
And then, so, Martian Manhunter is just, like, going on this whole stick, and Batman just goes, great, thanks.
Wait a second. Hold on 1 second. If this is what I think it is, I'm going to lose it. So I just fast-forwarded to the Deathstroke gets on the yacht. If that's Mercy Graves that I'm looking at in the background, I'm going to lose it, because she definitely got blown up in Batman vs. Superman. Hold on. Give me a second. It was a dark shadow. Keep talking, because I'm gonna lose it.
So there's a point where Martian Manhunter goes, "Your parents would be very proud of you," and then there's a very strange, like 10-second beat where just nobody's saying anything to each other, and the camera is just on Ben Affleck for like what feels like 5 minutes, and it's the most inexplicable thing that I had never noticed until last week when we were rewatching this, and it's so bizarre. And then Batman just goes, "Yeah, great." He goes, "Thanks."
I love how normal he thinks this is. Like, this is just normal activity now.
The guy who was so afraid of aliens.
Literally less than 2 years ago.
And now this green guy shows up, and Batman's just like, "Yep,
you're on the team.
You're on the team." And then Martian Manhunter goes to leave, and he goes, "Oh, by the way, some have called me Martian Manhunter." And if Batman was any type of smart Batman, that would have set off some alarm bells. Martian Manhunter?
It's not like it's in the name or anything.
Manhunter? Are you kidding me?
Wait, is that Mercy? I can't tell. I don't know if it's her. That doesn't matter.
And then cue the slowest flying to the camera sequence.
Takes so long.
In the history of flying sequences.
Takes so long.
Martian Manhunter takes about 7 minutes to fly from Wayne Manor to like the edge of the lake by Wayne Manor, and it's like this big like hero shot for Martian Manhunter. So what? That was supposed to be Green Lantern, right?
Oh yeah, I think they even shot it with it was supposed to be John Stewart too. It wasn't supposed to be Hal Jordan. So cool.
That epilogue did not have to be in the movie at all. Just get rid of it. Just get rid of it. You get rid of that. You get rid of the 27 minutes of slow motion, and you knocked an hour off the movie.
Yeah. So 45 minutes about are gone. So you're down to about like a 3:15 movie,
which is reasonable for like a director's cut of a movie.
Oh right, yeah. Yeah, you take away maybe a bunch of the Lois Lane stuff too. You take away some of that. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of diving into Aquaman gets a lot to dive into in the first half of this movie too, and Wonder Woman. Like, you could probably cut a lot of the Wonder Woman or the mascara stuff out too.
You can probably cut out
You
can cut out a lot of the occasional check-ins with Steppenwolf.
Right.
Checking in with Desaad.
It was the second Desaad one where I'm like, God, man, why? We get it. You're
Desaad.
Trying to FaceTime your bestie. We
Desaad. Get it. Yeah, I imagine like Desaad has like the Matt Murdock phone from Daredevil where it's like foggy. It's like Steppenwolf. He's like, oh no.
Oh God.
Darkseid's like, hang up that phone.
Hang up that phone.
I know that who I think it is. This was Darkseid saying.
They probably thought this epilogue was so cool, this nightmare sequence. They were like, oh my God, this is it. That's the one.
We did it. Cinema. It's so strange. That nightmare sequence is so strange. Oh. And then they're like, oh man, like Mira's talking all this crap about Superman, like she's gonna kill him. And then Superman shows up, and then everyone's like, oh God.
Yeah, we need to leave because he's literally about to kill all of us.
Did you guys watch Justice League?
Why? Why is the Joker, what is he gonna do to help? Laugh him to death? I don't understand. Like, and he's not even funny. Could have picked Heath Ledger. At least he had some dry humor to him.
He's got a bulletproof vest on. That'll help him.
The way that he's dressed looks like he just broke him out of Arkham. Like, whenever the world was ending or whatever, he got broken out of Arkham.
They gave him the long, like, Heath Ledger hair for some reason.
Why is he there? What? That's the guy? There's no... Because at this point, he had to have met, what? Ryan Choi was probably the Atom at this point. Maybe Blue Beetle's running around out there.
Everybody's dead?
But the Joker isn't?
He's never dead. He never dies. Except for that one time when he died. Remember when Superman put his hand through the Joker's chest in Injustice? That's basically what would have happened.
Why is he so essential to this? I don't understand.
We're never going to know. That's the crazy part about this nightmare sequence. We don't know how this group got together. Why
the group I'm fine with, because at least they have Cyborg and they have Mira, because Mira in herself is pretty powerful, and now she has Atlan's Trident on top of that. Batman's
not that powerful in a wasteland with no water.
Yeah, there is no water. I don't know what she's doing out there. I don't know how this is staying alive. Who knows? Deathstroke, he's pretty strong in his own right against probably some of the parademons because he's a super soldier. But the Joker, what is he supposed to do? Maybe this is like a timeline where like the whole Dark Knight's Metal stuff happened, because I don't know. I'm just comic grim. It doesn't. Oh my god! I was really trying to give this movie the benefit of the doubt.
The movie's pretty solid on its own.
Yeah, it is.
But there's a lot that can go away. That epilogue.
Yeah, if you're looking at this as a movie itself, because we're trying to find all of this with like outside source. There's so many outside sources thrown at this movie besides the actual movie itself. So,
I said, just make a documentary about this movie.
I will effing kill you. So weird.
Oh man! All right, I guess that's all we had. Any final thoughts on the Snyder Cut?
No, this happened the last 2 weeks in a row. I was ready to go into these movies being like the one that's like on the side of finding, the saving grace for some of this stuff.
There's a lot to like in this movie. Like I said,
yeah.
The cyborg stuff is as good as it can be. You can't do much better than what was done with Cyborg in this movie. Honestly,
that sequence where Silas dies is really good. Yeah, where Steppenwolf shows up and he's like just using like his his brains to kind of figure out the reason that he sacrificed himself. But that was a really good sequence too. Yeah, which was shown in the trailer for the Snyder Cut. Weirdly enough,
it's a shame that we're never gonna get any more of Ray Fisher as Cyborg.
Because he's done. Ben Affleck's done, which again, until Robert Pattinson presumably might take the mantle away. Ben Affleck's still my favorite live-action Batman I've ever seen. After the Flash movie, he's done. Henry, again, I don't know if Henry Cavill seems like one of the sweetest guys in the world, apparently. I don't know if he just kidnapped, like, the executive, like, the top brass at Warner Brothers children or something.
Got himself blacklisted.
Yeah, I don't understand why they just hate him, and he'll never be Superman again. All right, Warner Brothers, this is my ask. Do what you did with Hugh Jackman in Logan. Do that with Henry Cavill as Superman. You have two storylines I think you can pull from. If you want to make this Henry Cavill-centric, you do All-Star Superman, make him older, make him dying, and kind of do it like that. Give him a couple kids, give him Jonathan Kent, whatever you want to do. Have some fun. That's probably one of, I think, the top 10 greatest comic books of all time is All-Star Superman. Or you can do, if you want to pull Zack Snyder back, do Kingdom Come, because I know Zack Snyder uses a lot of biblical references in his work. Do Kingdom Come, pull back all the rest of the Justice League members. That would be a cool one. Seeing like this old age of superheroes and this new age of superheroes battling against each other to see who should be the rightful ones to kind of own the sake of the earth.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I think Zack Snyder would probably be a really good choice to do something like Kingdom. It would probably play a lot like 300 or Watchmen if that's the case. Probably be like an amalgamation of his work to do that.
Yeah, I agree. But I don't know. I don't know what I had to say, but I'm glad like I said, I'm glad it happened.
Mm-hmm. Me too. Yeah.
I'm glad we got it. I'm glad that, there's no more excuses. Glad it's out there. I just hope that people realize that this universe is dead, pretty much, for all intents and purposes. This universe is dead. He crammed every bit of the future and what the future could have been into this, just as like an homage to himself, I guess, is why he put all that stuff in.
Bless you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Why is the Joker here? I'm in the sequence. Why is he here? Oh, man. What's he supposed to do? It's Superman.
He's got kryptonite laughing gas.
Okay, that I'll buy. That's the only thing I'll buy. I'll take it. I'll allow it.
Oh, man. So that's it. The Snyder Cut and the Snyder Trilogy we started on a high note. We should have done Man of Steel last.
Should have worked backwards. Told you. Man of Steel, pretty solid, pretty good movie.
Yeah.
One of my favorite comic book movies ever.
Yeah, we should have saved that for the end. Because these last two.
Yeah.
Also, David Ayer, take a seat.
Yeah, relax.
Your Suicide Squad movie's never getting released.
Yeah, stop, man.
It's over, David Ayer. I have the high ground. That's about it. Did you watch anything? Do anything interesting?
What have I done? Like I said, I bought a new film camera, so I've been working with that a little bit, trying to make some cinematic photos for photography, because obviously that's why we call it the best picture, because that's the basis of what a movie is. It's a moving picture. So yeah, that's been fun to kind of learn photography, and like I said, try to get some cinematic photos to try to keep the film journey rolling. So I've been writing and doing that. Got some cool stuff that's going to come out for myself soon. So make sure on the page there's going to be some links to my stuff. So have some fun. Shameless plugs. I saw you playing basically an old boy game. Yes.
So I've been playing this game called Sifu was released on PlayStation. It's by an indie developer. It's basically like you said, it's martial arts, old school kind of kung fu inspired game. It's a roguelite, so for those of you who have kind of are familiar with the game Hades, it functions very similar to that, where it's a gameplay loop essentially. So the mechanic is you start as every good kung fu movie / story starts out as. You are the son of a kung fu master who was murdered, and you're out for revenge against this gang of 5 kind of bosses, who are all former students, and you yourself, player character, are murdered in the beginning, but then you have in your clutches a magical pendant that brings you back to life, and that's the impetus for the gameplay loop. You start as a 20-year-old person, and then you fight, you upgrade your skills, and when you die, you age up a year. So then you become a 21-year-old, and then each time you die subsequently adds on that many years to your life. So say you die, you become 21, you die again, adds 2 years, so you become 23. Then you die again, you become 26. And it's like a Fibonacci sequence that ages you up through the loop.
Interesting.
And every 10 years you age, you get physically stronger, but your health depletes. So you can go up to a maximum of 70, where you're ridiculously strong, but can only sustain a few hits. The combat is super satisfying. I actually was thinking about it. I was like, man, I know it's an indie developer, but if Marvel Games gets a hold of these guys and wants to do something with Daredevil,
that would be cool.
Because the combat is super seamless, super slick. I enjoy the gameplay a lot. I enjoy the art style a lot. Just trying to get in some quick games before Horizon Forbidden West comes out in a couple weeks. Or next week. Jesus, it's already going to be the 18th next Friday. Yeah, so Horizon Forbidden West is coming out next Friday. One of the most anticipated games of the year if you're a PlayStation gamer. But no, really enjoying this one. Got it for $45 on the PlayStation Store. So it's a cheap game. Like I said, indie. Haven't finished it yet because it is quite challenging and there's no difficulty levels. So roguelites are inherently challenging because you're designed to die and carry your skills over to the next loop. So I've been really enjoying it though. Like you said, very old boy inspired. Pays a lot of homages to it's very Jackie Chan also, with quick picking up objects and kicking chairs into people and jumping over tables.
That's that more of how do they call it? Your not surrounding. It's like your it's like setting based fighting, using what's around
environment,
you.
Yeah.
Right, your environment fighting.
Yeah, you can break scaffolding and pick up wooden sticks from the scaffolding and fight with that. It's very cool. I really enjoy it. I'm looking forward to diving more into that.
I guess that's our old boy plug for this week.
I like Old Boy a lot.
Don't watch the 2013 Old Boy with Josh Brolin. Watch the 2003 Old Boy. Now that's a film right there. That's an incredible film that Park Chan-wook directed. So
agreed.
Yeah, watch that. And if you don't want to watch the whole movie, go on YouTube, watch the 3-minute and 50-second one take hallway. If you thought Daredevil was the first, no, they were not right. It was, and not even Old Boy was the first one to do it, but the Old Boy is one of the most famous ones that you'll ever see. absolutely incredible. I told you before, he asked there's like 50 guys in front of him, and he's got the one at knife point. He asked everybody in the room, what type of blood type is everybody? Raise your hand if you're AB. And nobody, obviously they're all stone cold, and he just throws them back to him. He's like, he's gonna need some blood, and they started attacking him, and he clears everybody. It's amazing.
But as far as that's going to do it for us this week. You can follow us on Twitter at ProjectINF_pod. We tweet about what's going on during the week. We tweet the new episodes. We tweet the old episodes sometimes. You can like us on Facebook. Share us on there. New episodes go up automatically on Facebook. They play right from the Facebook browser.
But hey, still go into Spotify.
Absolutely.
And
go to
Apple Music.
Primarily, find us on Apple Music, Spotify. That's where we get our shares. That's where we get our downloads. That's where we get our reviews. You can follow us on Instagram.
At the Project Infinite Pod.
Thank you. Next week, what do we... Oh, Book of Boba Fett.
Yes, the Book of the Mandalorian.
I'm really nervous about how this finale is going to be.
Yeah, so no spoilers. But I guess they're already out there, so it doesn't really matter.
I haven't seen them yet, so I don't know.
You haven't seen any of the... What's the last... You're caught up, right?
Yeah, I'm caught up.
Yeah.
You mean spoilers for the finale?
No, not for the finale.
Just in general.
Yeah, for the two, because those are like, everybody's like, what? Like, where's Boba Fett?
He has had 1 minute of screen time in the last two episodes.
Yeah, that's like not having Hawkeye in the Hawkeye show.
It's exactly that.
Right.
It'd be like, I'm trying to think of what, like... the comparison would be.
It's like you could use any show. It's like Peacemaker not being in it for 2 episodes or being in it for a minute and 2 episodes.
It'd be like Peacemaker without Peacemaker being in the episode and it just being like John Economist for 2 episodes.
Right. No, it'd be like having Bloodsport come back from the Suicide Squad and just take it over. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what it would be.
Yeah, which would be kind of cool.
That would be cool.
No,
we're putting our foot down.
I'm saving it for next week, but
However, the last 2 episodes have probably been the best Star Wars content.
As much as I've enjoyed them, I have major narrative problems with these last 2 episodes.
Right, yeah. I mean, if you look at it from the sense of just Star Wars, of not like this is a Book of Boba Fett show and it's just Star Wars itself, it's the best Star Wars. Like, it's so satisfying. But if you look at it from what it really is, and it's the Book of Boba Fett, it's not the Book of Boba Fett anymore. Which is just, it's weird. I don't know why that's what they chose to do. It's hurting Tamora Morissette and Boba Fett. That's what it's really doing. It's like highlighting everything that people love, but that's not what the show is. The show's about him coming into his own as a crime boss on Tatooine.
Yeah.
But now I don't care, because...
Why would you?
Because Baby Yoda's back. I don't care.
Because they presented everything that's happened in these last 2 episodes as infinitely more important than whatever going on with Boba Fett.
Yeah, it just feels like it didn't... Oh, okay, that's fine, but is Grogu going to choose the Mandalorian armor, or is he going to choose the lightsaber? You know?
I don't know.
Can you timecode this with spoilers? I apologize. I just threw... Yeah.
I don't know. I'm saving it for next week, because I have... Like I said, I'm conflicted. It's the best way to put it.
Right. So we got Peacemaker coming up. That show's been ramping up heavy. The last 2 episodes really put in some work.
Really fantastic. Loving what's going on there. And then it's pretty much Batman mode.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's time. Yeah. Robert Pattinson, Kristen Stewart.
Who knew?
I knew. 2016 is when I knew. That's when I knew, because people were like, what do you mean this guy from Twilight, or 2017? And I was like, you watch Good Time? And they were like, no. And I was like, well, don't judge somebody off of one movie.
Like, real talk.
Yeah. Doesn't work that way.
So yeah, Book of Boba Fett next week, Peacemaker the week after, and then it's Batman from there. Can't believe we're here. We're almost at the Batman. The resident Twilight defender of the podcast, everybody.
The Kristen Stewart stan of the podcast is me. Man. Her and Robert Pattinson. Hopefully I get to have, maybe I'll get them in a movie one day. That's my goal. As somebody that wants to be a director, that's what I'll do.
Oh, dude, imagine.
Imagine having a movie with the 2 of them.
Just imagine it.
It'd be like Spider-Man No Way Home. Everybody would lose it.
Just can't wait for Andrew Garfield to win his Oscar.
So you're telling me that Javier Bardem's not going to win?
Because if Andrew Garfield wins an Oscar, that means we won the Oscar also.
Yeah, I won our credit for making sure we're the ones that got him there.
Because he's the patron saint of the podcast.
Yeah, he is.
All right, guys. Next week, Book of Boba Fett. Until then, we will see you next week.